Hello everyone, Jessica Coulter here, and I'm excited to bring you another video all about fractions. So if you haven't watched part 1, which went over all the different definitions you'll need to know in order to do any problems concerning fractions or really to even understand them, highly encourage you to watch that video before this one. But if you're joining us today for the second video, awesome. Again, just want to introduce myself. My name's Jessica Coulter, and I am the CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring. I work with students in the 3rd grade and beyond, all the way up through adults in grad school. So today we're focusing on fractions, which is something most upper elementary and middle school students have seen or will see very soon. So, first thing I want to do is some review. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this because this is what part 1 was all about. So if you're at all confused what any of these terms mean, again, I would make sure to watch part 1 before you watch this video. So just a really quick review here. If I've got the fraction 2/3, the numerator is going to be the 2, it's a number on top, and the denominator is the number on the bottom, the 3. And we talked in the last video about proper versus improper. So this 2/3 would be considered a proper fraction because the number on top is smaller than the number on bottom. And if I had an improper fraction, I could easily just flip this and do 3/2, and that would be improper because of the fact the numerator is larger than the denominator. And finally, for mixed numbers, this means I'm going to have a whole number as well as a fraction. So they're going to be right next to each other, and that would be considered a mixed number. So if any of that was confusing, again, watch part 1 before continuing with this video. Alrighty, so we got our review in, and I think we are ready to move on to something new. Now we talked a little bit about fractions and how to kind of interpret them and write them in the last video. I want to go more in depth in this video. So if this is where you or your child is at right now, then I'd make sure pay close attention and maybe rewatch the slide if necessary, or pause it and do some example problems on your own. But we will have some quiz questions at the end just to make sure you understood everything. So on this slide, we are asking what amount of the bar is filled in. So remember, we're going to have a numerator and a denominator, so we can go ahead and do our bar for our fraction. So I think it's easiest to start with the denominator. So we need to know how many pieces total we have. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means 4 goes in the denominator because that is the total. Now it says what amount of the bar is filled in. So now I am not going to look at parts 3 and 4 or the white parts. I'm not going to look at that. I'm just going to look at the red part because that's what's filled in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I see that there's 1 and then I see that there's 2. So I'm going to put 2 on the top of my fraction or in my numerator because this is how many shares I have or how many pieces I have. So that is what the numerator is for. So in this case, it's how many sections or amount is filled in. So it's 2/4 would be my final answer. Well, hey there. Before we go much farther, just want to make sure you knew I have a Facebook group. So if you're looking for any more resources or education help or maybe some more videos like this, would absolutely love to have you in my Facebook group. All you have to do is go to the link on your screen, answer a couple questions, and you'll be in the group. So I can't wait to see you soon. Okay, so we have practiced writing a fraction. Now let's practice using a fraction. So these two questions on your screen are pretty much the same, but there are two different ways of asking a question that you or your child will probably see on a test or on a homework assignment. And the first question is, how many sections of the box should you fill in to make the fraction 4/6? Or I think a more common way of saying this would be, how would you shade in the box to make the fraction 4/6 or 4/6? And I hope I'm not confusing you guys by doing the 4/6 this way, with the 4 and the /6. It's the same thing as 4/6 if it was up and down or vertical. So anyway, let's look at our box. The first thing we need to check is make sure we have 6 squares within the box, or 6 pieces, because it says 4/6 and the bottom number is going to be the total number. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's great. That means we can fill in the box. So then we have 4, so that's the numerator, so that's how many pieces. So it does not matter which 4 you fill in, but as long as you shade in 4. So it can be whatever 4 you want, and it doesn't matter if they're next to each other or what. All that matters is that they're equal and that we shade in the correct number. So that's all it takes to shade in 4/6 of the box. So the next concept is that of equivalent fractions. And for those of you that don't know, equivalent means equal. Now this can be a little harder for students, and we can do it in a simpler way and a more advanced way. So since this is probably a new concept, if you're watching this video for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and try to keep it as simple as I can. So the first thing I want to do here is just to figure out how much of each box is shaded in. So this first one, I'm going to go ahead and count everything blue and white. So it looks like there are 4 slices. So 4 is the denominator. Top number is going to be 1. So my numerator is 1 because that's 1 slice shaded. Now if I go to my second box here, the one in the middle, I'm going to, again, I can count top or bottom, doesn't matter. So I've got 2 shaded in, and then I count and I see that I have 8 slices total. And then I go to my last one here. Sorry guys, that's not very good, 8, but that's what I've got here. There we go. So if I go to my last one, I've got 3 blue squares, and then if I count everything blue squares and white squares, then I get 12. So that is, kind of what we did earlier, the using and the writing, but we're trying to decide on equivalency now. So if I've got these 3 fractions, I've got 1/4, I've got 2/8, and I have 3/12. Are they equal? Would I be happy getting 2 pieces of a cake if there were 8 slices total, or would I rather get, 3 Legos if there's 12 Legos total? So the way to decide this, the simplest way is just to look. So when I have this blue bar here on the left, that's just 1 out of 4, I can divide it in half, and that way it looks just like this bar over here in the middle. When I add that 1 yellow line, it went from being 1/4 to being 2/8. And then if I look at the last one, the box on the farthest right, that's 3/12. Well, can I make this bar on the left look like that? Can I make it look like 3/12? Well, I can go ahead and make it 3 parts. I can add another line. Now look at it. I've got 2 yellow lines and then 3 blue parts on this far left bar. But the question is that the same? Is what I've drawn over here the same as what's over on the far right? Now I'm hoping you remember we talked about fractions being equal. I do not have 3 equal parts right now, so this is not the same. But if I was to make that blue bar, I'm just going to kind of draw a new bar over here. If I was going to make that blue bar have same thing, where the pieces are equal, then it is the same. So the takeaway from this slide is that even though these 3 boxes look different, they have different number of pieces shaded in, different number of pieces total, when I compare them, kind of the shape of each blue, it's the exact same thing. Now there is a different way to do this when we simplify fractions, and that is something that your child will need to eventually be able to do, or you will need to be able to do. and that has to do with factors and multiples and all that good stuff. That is something I will address in a future video, but I'm trying to keep this video a little simpler. To better help you understand equivalent fractions, I just wanted to point out a couple facts that you might or might not be aware of. I'm hoping some things are starting to sink in, and a way to really understand which fractions are big and which ones are small or how they compare is with the number line. But before we get into that, just want to again review and make sure you've got some key concepts down. The first is that all proper fractions are less than 1. So this is going to be any number that has a small number on the top, big number on the bottom, and then all improper fractions are greater than 1. And this is because bigger numerator, smaller denominator. Now, something we haven't really said so far that I think is important for you to know is that a fraction with the same number in the numerator and the denominator is equal to 1. So this is like 3 over 3 or 5 over 5. If I divide 5 by 5, then that's equal to 1. So those are 3 important concepts that you need to make sure you understand, because if you think fractions, which like I said are proper fractions, are more than 1, then you won't ever be able to handle those problems with greater than and less than symbols. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up some pictures on the slide because I think that helps. So here are 2 different images for you to consider. Like we just talked about, we said that a number over itself is the same thing as 1. So here on the right I've got 1. I could also just write 4 over 4. It would be the same thing. Now if I look here with the glasses, I've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Now you'll notice that 1/4 is really not all that much juice or water or liquid, whatever we have here, whereas 3/4 is almost a full glass. So that's why here on my number line I've got 1/4 so close to 0, because there's really hardly anything in that glass. But then I've got 3/4 all the way over here so close to 1 because it's almost a full glass. Now I've got my circles here too. So I went ahead and put some of these on the number line to try to make it easier on you. One of the numbers I want to point out here is the 5/8. So that is one of these down here. So hopefully this is easy for you. You've got it figured out whether it's C or D. Just take a moment there to quickly look and count what's filled in, what's not filled in, and decide if that's C or D. Okay, so I hope you took a time and you saw that it's D. Okay, now when I'm trying to decide where to put 5/8 on the number line, I've got to decide if it's more or less than 1/2 and 2/3. So I think that the last slide might have gotten a little messy. I'm hoping you were able to understand it, but in case you didn't, if I wanted to make 5/8 look like 1/2, so we're going to focus on D over here, okay? So if I wanted 1/2, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So I think most of us know that 1/2 of 8 is 4, and if you don't, all I got to do is 8 divided by 2, okay? So I'm going to draw this line straight down the middle. So if I wanted 1/2 of this, say, pizza, that would just be everything to one side of the line. So that would be 1/2. But look, on 5/8, I have those 4 that I just shaded in, and I have an extra piece. So that means if I was offered 5/8 of a pizza or 1/2, if I was really hungry, I'd want 5/8 because it's more pizza. Okay? So that is an easy way to compare fractions, and I highly encourage you to draw pictures if you need to, or get a piece of paper out and cut out pieces, whatever works best for you. But definitely number lines are a great great way to compare numbers, fractions really. Okay, how are you feeling? Is this making sense? Are you understanding it? Or do you think you need some help? I know some people, when it comes to math, prefer some one-on-one help or someone sitting right next to them and helping them every step of the way. If that is you or your child and you would love to have a tutor, I would love to help you. So all you have to do to schedule a lesson is go to the link on your screen. It's acecookie-tutoring.com/book online. I do have in-person lessons available as well as online lessons. So I would love to work with you soon and help you or your child become a smart cookie and ace your math class. All right, let's see how much you've learned. So let's go ahead and do 3 quiz questions and see how well you do. So if you think any of these questions are hard, definitely encourage you to go back and review the material from earlier in this presentation. So the first quiz question is asking, are these fractions equivalent? 1/8 and 1/4. So think about what we talked about with equivalent fractions and maybe take some time to draw out a circle or a square and come to your answer. So we're going to go ahead and explain it, but I would recommend pausing the video until you're ready to hear the answer and the explanation. Okay, so the way I'm going to answer this question, the short answer is no, they are not equivalent. So if I was to draw 2 equal bars and then I made one into 4 pieces and one into 8 pieces, that's what I've got on my screen. So I have the 1/4 on top. So just in case you need it, I can label each part 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the shaded part is just one part, so that's the 1/4. And then the bottom one is the 1/8. So same thing. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So this is up to you. I just think it helps. And then I've got one part shaded in, so it's 1/8. Now, if you look, if I compare the size of the 1/4 to the 1/8, the 1/4 is a lot bigger. Because if I draw another square to kind of encompass them both, go around both the 1/4 and the 1/8, you'll see that they're not the same size at all. So the answer to quiz question 1, are these fractions equivalent, 1/8 and 1/4? The answer would be no, because 1/4 is bigger. 2 pieces of the eighths would be able to fit into the 1 piece of the 1/4. Okay, I hope you're ready. Here is quiz question number 2. Write the correct fraction for the image. So again, take a moment to write down your answer on a scrap piece of paper or maybe in a notebook you're keeping. And when you are ready, go ahead and continue listening to the presentation. Otherwise, I would take a moment to pause while you figure out your answer. Okay, so for those of us that are ready to go over the answer, we need to decide how many pieces are shaded and how many pieces total there are. So let's go ahead and count how many total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it looks like 10 pieces are the total. And hopefully you've got the 10 in the correct place. So are you ready? The 10 goes in the denominator and then shaded. So I need to count how many shaded. It looks like I have 7 shaded. So the correct fraction for this image would be 7/10. So here is the last quiz question. And this one says, shade in 1/6 of the image. So just like on the other quiz questions, take a moment to figure out your answer, go back and review if you need to. And when you are ready, go ahead and listen to the answer. but make sure you pause so you can figure out what you think your answer is. So for those of us that are ready here, I've got 6 parts of my square, so that takes care of the denominator. All I have to do is fill in one square, and it can be any square that I want to. It doesn't have to be this one I filled in. It can be any one of those 6. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I hope you learned a lot. Just know if you are looking for some more help with fractions or math in general, we'd love to help you or your child one-on-one. All you have to do is book a lesson at that link on your screen in the first bullet, acecookie-tutoring.com/book online. And if you're watching the video on YouTube, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. So you can just go to that link in the second bullet and click subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications. And finally, I do have an email list. So if you'd like to get my monthly newsletters full of great study tips as well as some bonus material and always a special coupon for my email subscribers, send an email to acecookie-tutoring@gmail.com. So thank you so much, guys. We will see you in all of our future videos. We will be making more fraction videos. So if you're looking for more information about fractions and decimals and percentages, make sure you stay subscribed and tuned in. So thanks so much. We'll see you soon.